In my video Creative Guidance, I explained how we can get answers to questions creatively. In this video, I will present an example of how miraculous creativity is in a general way. If you learn how to get answers to questions consistently with creative guidance, the miraculous nature of creativity becomes a familiar friend. However, creativity is more miraculous even than that. Or perhaps a better way to frame that statement is that everything that creativity does is an answer. Most of the time, though, the answer is not intellectual, so words are not involved. Creativity is a heart-centered thing. Although it is a fiery choosing, its mysterious purpose is always to serve our heart's desire. So, in order to express our heart's desire with clarity, we need to get clear about what we really do desire. So tapping into creativity is about feeling into our hearts. When we do that well, creativity rewards our presence with amazing presents. It is as if it is saying, "You have been so receptive to what you truly desire that you have allowed me to present you with this gift, a gift that is even more in alignment with your desire than you envisioned." Back in 2020, creativity gave me a little example of a general miracle, a beautiful gift that has been in most of my videos since then. When I received that gift, I planned to make this video about it and how it had come about, but I didn't get around to that until now. When I first started my channel, I made my first videos using free art software called Krita. Krita can do animations in 2D, but at that time the function was quite buggy. It kept crashing on me, more than doubling the time it took to create an animation. That seriously hampered the flow of my creativity. Even without the crashes, I had to make every frame of an animation by hand, which was very laborious. Nevertheless, I persisted and eventually had the animation I used in my first video, An Introduction to Epiphysics, except for the Earth in the middle. Serendipitously, life provided me with a much better tool for creating animations just as I needed it. I learned about the amazing free animation software called Blender, which is much more stable. My computer had the bare minimum specifications to run Blender, but I found that it gave me much greater creative freedom than using Krita. Learning to use Blender, I created the Earth in the middle of the Krita animation. Then I set to work learning to do something more artistic. I eventually produced the animation in my Planetary Essence Tour video, which is what is playing at the moment. Blender was a joy to use, and I was pleased with the animations I produced, but the slow speed of my computer still acted like a straitjacket on my creative flow. Tweaking things to be exactly how I envisioned them proved to be practically impossible. This was frustrating because the animation is not perfectly in sync with the music in several places during the Vital Astrology Planetary Essence Tour. It is especially noticeable in the fact that Venus emerges from behind Mars almost a full second before her section of the music begins. I would have had to spend days getting that right because I had to render the whole animation in order to check the synchronization each time I made little changes. In the end, I settled for the way things are, but wasn't perfectly happy with that. Even though my creative flow was still not as free as I would have liked it to be, I was still able to flow with my vision well enough to be gifted with a miracle. My original idea was that I could use the Planetary Essence Tour as my intro sequence. However, I soon realized that it would be far too long. Nevertheless, I continued making it because the vision was so pleasing, and it made a reasonable standalone video. When I had completed it, I discovered that the final section of the video was perfect for my intro sequence. The synchronization with the music was not as good as I would have liked, but was acceptable. Then in 2020, my computer developed a fault. So I took a leap of faith and invested in a more powerful computer with a good graphics card. Using Blender on my new computer was a lot easier. Its speed made things a lot smoother. Crucially, I could play animations without having to render them. The first thing I did when I got the new computer was to improve my intro sequence to make the synchronization with the music more precise. I also completely revamped the sun. Try as I might, I couldn't get the sun's corona to be symmetrical before. Now it is. Also, instead of aiming to make the sun as realistic as possible, I aimed to make it more artistic. I was quite pleased with my sun before, but now I feel that the old sun looks naff compared to the new one. All these improvements are what I consciously intended to make, but they were not the only improvements that happened. I made them via a feeling conversation with my creativity. At each stage I was checking in with my felt sense of how pleasing the rendition of my vision was. It is that felt sense that is the key to miraculous manifestations. It was what got my little me self the gift that it did not consciously intend. I wonder if you can spot it. We have come to the point in the animation where the old intro sequence is about to begin. Please pay close attention to it. Now I will play the new intro sequence. Can you spot something that was not in the old intro? It is a little miracle that I didn't consciously intend. Did you notice the little twinkle? Here it is again. I didn't put that twinkle in consciously. Some special alignment must have happened between the sunlight and a mesh face on the golden arrow that indicates the Earth's rotational axis. It is what artists call a happy accident. Except that there are no accidents. Everything is creativity. In closing, I want to point out that Blender and my new computer help me to tune into my creative flow, but I don't blame my previous limited flow on the tools I had before. Ultimately, I am responsible for how well my creativity flows. Creativity can manifest better tools, which make flow easier, but ultimately Practicing creative flow is what makes it easier. We are all creativity expressing itself perfectly as ourselves. Some expressions have more overt creativity, and some seem to lack a creative flow. We can all learn to improve our creative flow, however, by feeling into our hearts. That is all for now. Thank you for your attention.